Diary of an 8-Bit Warrior. I have no idea where I got the book, or how, or why. I just knew that I have it, and 2 of its sequels. And just like the game, Minecraft, in which it's based off of, I like to come back to it every once in a while. Upon my latest revisit, I thought, hey, I might try and do a video on this. That was yesterday. Today, I started doing research for it. Now, there are 3 books that I have in this series. Diary of an 8-Bit Warrior, From Seats to Swords, and Crafting Alliances. And at the end of each of those, there's a tease for the next one. And at the end of Crafting Alliances, there was a tease for a 4th one, the conclusion of the whole story, if you will, called Path of the Diamond. Now I was like, okay, so it must have ended after the 4th one. Well, upon doing research, I found that after Path of the Diamond, there are 3 more with another one in the works. 3 books I didn't even know existed. And a 4th one I didn't know existed on the way. It's safe to say I've got some collecting to do. So, for this first video, I will cover the first 3 books that I already have. And in the second video I might do with this series, I'll cover the next 5. And from the looks of the covers of books 5, 6, and 7, lots and lots of things have changed. Another thing I discovered is that it has a fan base. Because I figured, well, I really don't see these around anymore, and I've never really seen anything pertaining to them on YouTube or anywhere else, so I'm guessing these are pretty much forgotten. But no. There's a whole fan base for it. And all I had to do was use the YouTube search bar. And I've gotta say, this is one of my favorite interpretations of Minecraft I've ever seen. So, in total disrespect to the upcoming Minecraft movie, I am going to do a little read-through analysis of the first 3 books, starting now. The book series starts with the 12-year-old villager boy, Runt. Runt wants to be a warrior, but in his village, called Village Town, very clever, his mother and father want him to be a farmer like them. And are there any existing village warriors? No, not really. Instead, there are these warrior people who look different from the villagers. The first of which we get to meet is Steve. Now, there are others like Steve, but they don't ever really stick around. And that's a problem for the village, because mobs, they're getting smarter. Like, Steve taught these villagers to build a wall around their village, so you know what the mobs do? They stack a bunch of medium slimes over a creeper. The creeper explodes, and all of these new baby slimes just drop into the village. The village has yet to do anything about it other than, well, nothing. Anyway, on Monday, the whole book gets ordered by day. On Monday, Runt goes to this school where villagers learn their professions. However, this year, things are different because the mayor announces that the top 5 students of that year's class will be able to have the opportunity to become warriors. So, throughout the whole book, Runt has to climb his way up the ranks, learning and all that other cool stuff. And depending on how you perform, you'll be given a level. So, if you're level 1, you're a complete noob. And yes, they do actually say noob in the book. But if you're a level 100, you have total competence in all fields. Ron, after his first day, is a baby stinky level 3. Now, for him, that's not too bad. But what really makes his blood boil is what happens when his arch nemesis, Max, shows off his performance sheet, which is a level 5. Over that first week, there are 3 classes we get to see: farming, building, and mob defense. Here, it's fun to read through because you get to see how the villagers think and how they react to certain mobs. For example, they know how to have the crafting table and the furnace right next to each other. But on Saturday, we get some precious Steve lore. He says he came here from another dimension, and when he dies, he regenerates in some random place. So, pretty similar to how Jack Black's Steve works, except it's not Jack Black. Ron also has a friend named Stump. Back to Steve, he disappears for a little while during this time. Ron's level in school gradually progresses up and up, but eventually, Steve does in fact come back. Right before Steve's reappearance, though, there's a segment of the book where Runt and his parents see a bunch of villagers outside their house. The mayor and the elders of the village say they're tourists, but judging by the looks of their faces, they seem to be refugees. But from what? Who knows? Let's keep reading. We're nearing page 100, and I just found Mike. And this man, I can smell the Justin Roiland emanating from him. Like, I can just hear him saying,
"Oh no, Ron, you gotta help me, man. I owe the Centerman some money."
Continuing forward, Steve builds a house. He doesn't have many resources, though, because the tourists needed to have their own homes built. He also drops some more Earth lore, saying that a wizard named Notch sent him, Mike, and a bunch of others to Minecraftia to stop someone named Herobrine. Oh yeah, it's all coming together. Steve also mentions that back on Earth, where he came from, there was a computer game that was like Minecraftia, but it had differences, such as the fact that villager houses were smaller and didn't have bathrooms. This dimensional lore is crazy, I love it. Okay. So I was just reading through this, and I found this. Monday, I ate a baked potato. This is how I accomplished it. I grabbed the baked potato with my hand. Then, I moved my arm up, and also my hand. By doing this, I could put the baked potato in my mouth. And then Tuesday it says, a chicken gave me a strange look. Yes, with its eyes. It's getting crazy around here. This here is how Runt describes his life before going to the warrior school. Like, basically saying it was so unimaginably dull that eating a baked potato gets its own journal entry. Haha. I do actually find it funny, but yeah. Okay. Later on, a new class is introduced to the warrior school called Intro to Combat, and the teacher is a master swordsman named the Venerable Earth. Turns out he's the best in the village, but here's the thing. He's got a combat score of only 7%. He recalls the time about how he almost killed a zombie. Wow, so brave. Ron is obviously upset with this, and so he writes in the journal about what he's going to do. Now, kids, does he A, immediately start crying, B, asks the mobs really nicely to just stop attacking, C, dig down until we hit bedrock and live like dwarves, eating mushrooms and bats, or recruit Steve as a combat teacher? He obviously picks He picks option C! Just kidding, he picks option B. Goes to recruit Steve, but Steve is depressed. He goes to recruit Mike. Mike is in prison. So he makes it his mission to cheer up Steve and get Mike out of jail. He fails, so he has to deal with Earth. Soon, however, Steve does in fact get his motivation back. And after that, there's like this big wild fight scene of Steve demonstrating his capabilities to over 500 villagers who are standing on the wall. And after seeing this, I can proudly say Steve solos the entirety of everything. Villagers now love Steve so much that a trader actually recreated the warrior scent with something called cologne. That's what it says in there. I actually know what cologne is. But here, let me read it. Monster Master. Mysterious. Handsome. Smell like a hero for only 8 emeralds. Apparently, that trader sold out within a day. Back to Run, and now with being a warrior becoming cool, a bunch of other kids are trying to become villager warriors, and are a lot better than him. So the mayor just comes up to him and says, Run, you are a noob. Just like this horrible, like sad moment, like everybody takes it seriously, and he just says, Run, I'm sorry to say it, but you're a noob. And like the Naruto sad music begins playing in the background as Runt drops to the ground, weeping and crying. I mean, something similar does happen where Runt's talking about how he's not gonna write in the diary anymore, but I think it'd be funnier if it was animated and it did that. Turns out, Runt was trying to lure us in, and we took the bait. And Runt now is more determined than ever. Later in the book, though, there is a section where the mayor, Steve, and Mike talk about what's happening in the outside world. It talks about how basically everyone that's not Steve, Mike, or the villagers are basically thinking that they're still in the Minecraft computer game, because Notch sent far more than just Steve and Mike to combat Herobrine. And speaking of Herobrine, he is the sole reason that the mobs are getting smarter. Yeah, pretty crazy stuff. After what happened on the wall, Steve and Mike begin to teach the Intro to Combat class. Oh, Steve in particular was still thinking about what the mayor had said last night. Things slowed down for the next 30, 40, 50-ish pages of the book. There are some funny things, like a gag where Runt talks about a scam of players passing off seeds as emeralds that are just really, really small. Runt's score continues to raise until at page 224, you get to see that his score is at level 47 with trading acquired from scamming an elderly man by replacing a emerald with a lime green egg at 100%. The very next page, though, we get some character development for Max. If you forgot who he was the arch nemesis of Runt. And he got suspended for a day because he was ratted out for buying a pickaxe from someone's dad. Max then begins to talk to Runt about how they're the top dogs and how they have to stay up there, and how particularly there are some enemies that they'll have. Lots of them. This here is where Max decides to not be a nemesis to Runt anymore, but instead form a partnership with him and Stump. The next day, Runt tries to tell Stump about what happened, but they notice something in the distance. A dark oak tree by the east wall. This forest begins to expand and expand some more. Runt is visibly frustrated as he says on 5 whole pages. And it's implied that these trees are a sign that Herobrine and his forces are coming. But before we can do anything more with that, there's a cliffhanger that says, "That was when I heard it. A weird noise coming from the monster box." Which was something that was elaborated on earlier that I just kind of skipped on. And that concludes book 1.
Now, I wish I could have done books 2 and 3, but this video is getting to the upper limits of a length I'd like, because I don't want this to end up like the OC origin story video being nearly an hour long. So I think I'll do books 2, 3, and 4 once I get book 4, and then I'll do 5, 6, 7, and 8. So yeah, I hope y'all liked the video, and like, subscribe, notifications, all that jazz, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.